Hello everyone, welcome to the epic story of our species. From humble beginnings to global domination, the journey of human evolution is a fascinating tale of adaptation, innovation and survival. Over millions of years, our ancestors transformed from ape-like creatures to modern humans driven by forces like climate change, competition and genetic variation. Join us as we explore the key milestones, discoveries and insights that reveal the incredible history of human evolution. From the emergence of bipedalism to the development of complex societies, we'll delve into the scientific evidences and theories that shed light on our shared past. Get ready to meet our ancient relatives and discover the remarkable story of how we became the humans we are today. In this video, we are going to talk about human evolution in details. As you all know, human beings also belong to order Primata under class Mammalia. Now, primates are of several varieties. Of course, there are several species of primates, and the stock that we originate from are the monkeys, which have a common origin with the apes, and we are direct descendants of apes. The old world monkeys and the new world monkeys, that is the loris, gibbons, tarsiers, etc., they belong to one category, whereas the apes, that is the chimpanzees, gorilla, etc., belong to a category which is more closely related to us. Now, what are the changes that have taken place that have given rise to human stock or human beings from apes? There are certain changes which are the base of human evolution, without which human evolution would not have been possible or would not have been successful. So, let's talk about them one by one. The first characteristic is the size of the skull. So, as we see evolution of humans, hominids or humans from apes, we see that the size of the skull and the size of the brain, that is the volume of the brain, has slowly increased. So, starting from a brain of about 400 to 450 cc, the human brain has reached about 2400 cc at this point, and scientists, evolutionary biologists suggest that this brain size is only going to increase. This is one of the important reasons why this is happening is because we are developing more brain capacity and complexity of reflexes, thought, analysis, development, and that requires a larger brain size. The second change that has taken place in human beings from apes to human beings is the curve that has formed in the vertebral column. You must be knowing that we have 5 regions in our vertebral column: the cervical region, the thoracic region, the lumbar region, the sacral region and the coccygeal region. Now, when or as long as we were bipedal, or at least depending more on hands and feet to walk rather than only feet, we had a straight vertebral column, something like this. But the moment we started becoming bipedal and we started standing on our 2 legs, a lumbar curve developed in our vertebral column. Now, if you look at this lumbar curve would automatically develop when a person who is quadruped and is horizontal is trying to stand straight. A curve would automatically develop in the vertebral column. Of course, you know about straightening of the vertebral column. Sometimes due to over-exercise or due to sleeping postures, defective sleeping postures or accidents or some kind of injury, the vertebral column becomes straight, and at that point of time our nerves are compressed and we feel a lot of pain and we do not have that balance in walking. Now, why has this lumbar curve appeared? Apart from the fact that we try to stand straight and therefore a curve appeared in our vertebral column, it is also because the shape of the vertebral column as it is right now with that lumbar curve forces our center of gravity to the center of the body, so that when we are walking, when we are standing, the center of gravity is not too forward or too backward, so that we do not fall. The third characteristic difference that has taken place are that our arms and legs have used to be, when in case of apes, the arms are much longer than the legs, as a result of which even when they had a semi-erect posture, they would hold the body on the support of their knuckles, something like this as we see in case of certain apes. However, as we evolved, our hands became shorter, so that now we are totally independent of the knuckles and we do not have to keep a weight, support our body on our knuckles when we are standing or when we are walking or running. The fourth characteristic feature is that in case of apes, they have a narrow pelvic region. So, if you look at the pelvic region of the ape, it is narrow. So, the pelvic bones are very close to each other. The legs come out from two sides because they are quadrupeds, they walk on four legs. So, the legs come out from the two sides of the body. But the moment you want to stand up straight, if you stand up straight with a narrow pelvic girdle and your legs are coming out from the two sides of your body, walking will be a difficulty. So, the moment we started becoming bipedal, what happened was the pelvic girdle opened up. As a result of which, the joints of the two legs, which we call, I am sure you remember about it, the ball and socket joint, which is formed between the femur and the acetabular cavity, is present on the two sides of the pelvic girdle. So, as we stood straight, our pelvic girdles widened and opened up, and that brought the two legs closer to each other so that it is easier for us to walk. That also, the opening of the pelvic girdle also made space, more space for the fetus to develop inside the uterus of the mammalian forms. So, those were the characteristic changes overall in general that happened, which gave rise to a rise of the hominid stock from apes. Now, let us see how or what are the different ancestors, prominent ancestors that we have had in our lineage. Let's talk about the first ape-like ancestor, Australopithecus. The word Pithecus means apes. So, this fossil or the fossil of Australopithecus was discovered in the Miocene rocks of Africa. They lived about 20 to 25 million years ago, and they were more ape-like, as you can see. Their arms and legs were of the same length, so they had a semi-erect posture and they were also living on the trees. So, they were arboreal and they were knuckle walkers. They ate soft fruit. How do we know that? From their small jaw, but they had a larger brain than the other apes and they had a muzzle, and this muzzle is a characteristic which is of apes and it is known as a prognathous mouth. What is a prognathous mouth? A prognathous mouth is where the jaw has teeth placed in a U-shaped arch, as a result of which the mouth protrudes and the chin is not protruding, it is pushed back. So, when the mouth is protruding because of the U-shaped positioning of the teeth, we call this a prognathous face. The next ancestor is Ramapithecus, around 14 to 15 million years ago. So, this one is younger from Australopithecus by 4 to 5 million years. Australopithecus, it appears, were more man-like and they walked erect on their feet. Their fossils were found, by the way, in the Shivalik range of India, and hence the name Ramapithecus. They lived on treetops, but they walked on ground. And that is evident from the way their hands looked. So, their thumbs were still not opposable, the thumbs were still for grasping or holding branches. They had small canines, large molars, and this suggests that they were still herbivores eating small seeds. The next ancestor, which lived about 5 million years ago, is the most well-known ancestor of human beings, and that's Australopithecus. The fossils were discovered from the Pliocene rocks near Tuang Valley in Africa. Now, they were 1.5 meters in height with both ape and hominid characters. So, their characters were both ape-like. As you can see, they looked like apes, but they did have some hominid or human-like characters. For example, they were bipedal. They were eating both plants and animals, so they were omnivorous. And they had an erect posture, which is one of the defining characteristics of human nature, human beings. Their brain, however, was small and it was about 500 cc. The teeth were human-like, so there was a parabolic arrangement of teeth rather than a U-shaped arrangement of teeth. But they lived in caves, and these cave dwellers, they had to protect themselves from different calamities. So, they still had the characteristic features that we have, that helps us to protect us. For example, they had hair on their skin, thick hair on their skin. They had very projected and prominent brow ridges with eyebrows, so that anything falling from above could not get into their eyes very easily. But they did not have a chin. So they were prognathous, which means that their mouth was projected forward and their chin was pushed backward. This chin was not prominent because the jaw was not very prominent here in the chin region. Okay, but they had a broad pelvic region like human beings. Obviously, since they were bipedal, they had to stand up. The pelvic region had to open up so that the legs could come together. So the next ancestor we are going to talk about is Homo habilis, which lived about 2 million years ago, and the fossil was also found in Africa. They were about 1.2 to 1.5 meters tall, and as you can understand, we have entered into the genus Homo. So they are not ape-like anymore, they are more human-like. So what are their human-like characteristic features? They are bipedal, erect and omnivorous, which means that they have started walking straight, they have an erect posture, and just like we have shifted from completely herbivorous to omnivorous habits, as you must be knowing that now we cannot digest cellulose. At one point of time our ancestors could. Now they have started becoming omnivorous. As we saw in case of Australopithecus and Ramapithecus, they were herbivores, but now from Australopithecus slowly we are becoming omnivorous. Their brain size is about 500 cc, so it has increased, and with an increased brain size, it's an indication of the fact that human beings are developing more skills, more reflexes, more intellectually developed characteristic features that will help them to survive in future. We'll see. Their teeth are like modern day man, so they have a parabolic arrangement of teeth, and they were the first tool makers. So all those Stone Age cave dwellers we read about in history, this is the time that they dwelled, and these are the people we talk about. So they started making simple tools from stones, from things that they had around from nature. They took and they sharpened it and they made it into small tools with which they could crack open a nut or maybe kill a small animal and use them in their favor. They were the ones who lived a community life. So they started living in a group, although there was still not a society that was being formed. Still they started living together because they saw that living together allowed them to have more survival capacity. So being together rather than being solitary gave them the strength and the number to be able to fight the different other animals that were prominent at that point of time. So they started living in communities, not yet possibly as a family, but the caves were near around each other. They would gather together, sometimes hunt together and interact with each other. So we were not solitary creatures anymore. We were not solitary creatures even when we were Australopithecus, but here the community feeling or coming and living together in a societal structure, we can say, yet not a society, started. And since these ancestors started using their hands to make tools, and they use their tools to perform different activities, they were known as the handyman. Let's talk about the next ancestor, which is Homo erectus. They lived 1.7 million years ago, and 3 fossil records were found. One of Java man in central Java, Peking man in Beijing, and Heidelberg man in Heidelberg Valley, Germany. What are their characteristic features? So they were around 1.5 to 1.8 meters tall, and the males were larger than females. So we have already started showing physical structures where the males are larger than the females. Their posture was erect and they were omnivorous. Some of them, like the Java man, was also cannibalistic and was found to consume meat of the same species. Their skull size was larger, which is around 800 to 1300 cc cranial capacity, which means that the brain is devolving further, but the skull was still very flat. So they did not have a rounded head like we do, they had a flatter skull, as a result of which the head looked flat and the forehead was really slanting and broad. The Java man and the Peking man were the first known human stocks to have discovered fire and have used fire in human history. Now this discovery of fire made it easier for them to cook, roast or at least thaw their meat so that it was easier for them to chew, and therefore eating habits slowly started changing. Now Peking man was making way more sophisticated tools than Java man, and Heidelberg man was regarded as an intermediate between the Homo erectus and the Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. So you see, we are now slowly shifting from Homo erectus, that is the genus Homo and the species erectus, to genus Homo and the species sapiens, right? But we are not yet Homo sapiens sapiens. Let us talk about another ancestor of ours, which was a very good and competitor to have given rise to the Homo sapiens sapiens. Let's talk about the Neanderthal man or the Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. So the Neanderthal man fossils were obtained from Neanderthal Valley in Germany, and of course then it was obtained from various other countries. They had a prognathous phase, that is their jaw was forward projecting, although we understand that this was a characteristic more like apes, but still this characteristic was present in Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. But they walked upright. They had brows which had reduced a lot, and they had a high domed head. So the other structural features have started showing similarities with Homo sapiens sapiens. Their cranial capacity was much larger, about 13 to 1600 cc, but they became extinct somewhere around 30,000 years ago. It is said that Homo sapiens neanderthalensis were one of the greatest contenders to be able to give rise to modern day human beings. They didn't because of several reasons, and the reasons are still under research, that they could not survive. Although they were excellent skilled hunters, they now made tools which were way more evolved. So they now would make bows and arrows, and they had a religion. So they had started coming together, living in a society. They buried their dead with flowers and tools, and they followed a certain religion. See, one of the greatest features that have always brought the human beings together has been religion, and this is these many years ago, more than 30,000 years ago, that religion had started in human population. The next human ancestor that we are going to talk about is called Cro-Magnon. Now Cro-Magnon's fossil was discovered from France, and they lived about 34,000 years ago. They were well built, they were about 1.8 meters tall, and they started showing an orthognatous face, that is, now the muzzle has receded, so the face or the mouth is pushed backwards and the chin is well developed and prominent. The nose is elevated, broad and arched foreheads are present, and brows are moderate with very strong jaws and well defined jawline. So very French. And their cranial capacity has also increased, although it was very similar to that of Neanderthals, but they were slightly more, about 1650 cc. These ancestors of ours, they made beautiful colored cave paintings. So they used to extract colors from different kinds of fruits, flowers and organic matter, and they used to paint their paintings that they did inside their caves. And they not only did they make tools, they used to make ornaments that they used to wear, both male and female, to adorn themselves and also others after, and offered it as an offerage to people who died. And from Cro-Magnon, we finally gave rise, or the modern day human beings, that is Homo sapiens sapiens, were formed. We are very aware of our characteristic features. So we have a brain size of about 2000 to 2400 cc. We have an average height of about 5.5 to 6 feet at this point of time. We are completely bipedal. We have a lumbar arch. We have opposable thumbs. We do not have a very prominent eyebrow or eye ridge, and we have a smaller forehead. We do have a bigger skull. Our body hair is receding. It is only present in certain areas of our body, and we are omnivorous, although we cannot digest a lot of plant products. So that was how human beings evolved from Australopithecus, or if you go further back, from Dryopithecus to the modern day Homo sapiens sapiens. Now before I end my class, I would like to touch upon a very critical thing that gave rise to the diversity in the human population, or this diversity in our ancestors, which gave rise to the modern day human beings. You see, the lineage that I have talked about, apart from Neanderthal man which fell out of this lineage, all of them slowly evolved to give rise to the human beings, that is the Homo sapiens sapiens. But when the hominid stock was evolving, it started from Australopithecus in Africa. Now from Africa, some of our ancestors, they started walking, and as they started being able to make tools and defend themselves, and the tools became better and better, and they started living in a community, they started wandering further away from the clan. So if you just imagine Africa as the hub of human origin, from Africa, human beings, because of the inherent curiosity we have, they started walking further away. And it is not only about curiosity, it is also about fending for themselves, getting food, shelter, finding a space to stay. They started walking away from the origin, place of origin. Now this gives rise to what we call population bottlenecks and genetic drift. You have learned about population bottleneck and genetic drift. So what do we see here? We see that there is a group of human beings with a certain type of or composition of genes present in them. Now when a certain number, a random number of individuals walk out of this population, they carry with them random genes which are not representative of the total population. Let's say in the total population, you had 10 different kinds of gene, right? When out of these total population, let's say 20 individuals walk out, it is quite a possibility that these 20 individuals only have 3 of the genes out of these 10 that was present in the original stock. Now imagine 2 groups wandering away from the main stock in Africa. So one group went away with variations or characteristics 1, 4 and 5, and another group walked away with variations 7, 8 and 9. Now when these groups walked away, they never came back, and they started reproducing within themselves, and they started developing their own characteristic features due to evolution or due to variation. So let's say 10 more characteristics were added to 2 different groups, and these 10 characteristics can be same, but the possibility is higher that they are different. So now after let's say few million years from the original stock, the 2 groups that had wandered away, they became very different, and now we have 2 different groups of human ancestors. From this group again, 5 stocks let's say wandered further away because now they had better tools, now they lived together, now they were better hunters, they had fire so they could fight other animals, they could move forward and make space for themselves. They walked further, and now they were walking straight. Now the moment you start walking straight, you can stand solid on this dry ground, or the ground that was becoming more and more solid. You do not have to depend on trees because you do not live on trees anymore. Why have you come down off the trees? You have come down from the trees because the soil has become hard and solid and dry, so you can walk, you can run. As a result of which they walked further away. So let's say from the 2 stocks, 5 more groups wandered away, and they developed their own individual variations. So you will see, if you study all the different ancestors of human evolution, you will see some of them do not fall in that line of evolution that I have just mentioned. So the ancestors that I have mentioned, Dryopithecus, Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, and then Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis and Homo sapiens sapiens, they are kind of aligned, although Homo sapiens neanderthalensis falls out of it, but they are kind of a straight line that I have given you, depicting the way we have been formed. But there are several other ancestors that you will hear of, you will come across in different resources, where they talk about fossils of sporadic populations that have evolved here and there, and that is all because of genetic drift and population bottleneck that has happened in the human population. So that was all about human evolution. Now here is a small question for you. Can you tell me who Lucy is in this regard? Please write your answers in the comments below, as I eagerly wait to read your answers, and I promise to reply to all of them. I hope you have liked this video and have learned from it. Do check out the courses on our website manochaacademy.com and our Android app Manocha Academy. There you will find courses on physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, AI and coding. These courses have revision notes, concept videos, live classes, mock tests, quizzes, so they are perfect for your exam preparations. Do hit the like button and share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, smash that subscribe button right now and do not forget to click the notification bell. Let's stay connected with Manocha Academy and let's keep learning together. Now, the old world, the new world monkeys and the apes, that is the gibbons, the chimpanzee, this was discovered from the Pliocene rocks near Tuang in Africa. Africa bollam. Video and I've learned from it. Do check out our courses on our website www.manochaacademy.com and our Android app Manocha Academy. Here you will find courses on physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, coding and artificial intelligence. The courses have concept videos, live classes, quizzes, mock tests and revision notes. So they are perfect for your exam preparation. Do share this video with your friends and subscribe to our channel. If you have not hit the do hit the like button and share it with your friends. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, please go and smash the subscribe button right now and do not forget to click on the notification bell. Ready? কি দিয়ে শুরু জানো? না। Okay. I hope you have liked the video and have learned from it. Do check out our courses on our website www.manochaacademy.com and our Android app Manocha Academy. There you will find courses on physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, I hope you have liked the video and have learned from it. Do check out our courses on our website manochaacademy.com and our Android app Manocha Academy. There you will find courses on physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, AI and coding. In these courses you will get concept videos, live classes, quizzes, mock tests and revision notes. So they would be perfect for your exam preparations. Please hit the like button and share this video with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please hit that smash. এখান থেকে বলবো? না, প্রথম থেকে?